Hi, and welcome to Best in Tesla. So, Elon Musk thinks that Tesla will have a prototype of the humanoid robot ready this year, and maybe have the first production version ready by the end of next year. That is insanely quick if that is going to happen, and could take Tesla to whole new levels. But we might also need these robots more than many people think. Elon has been talking about it many times, but it is like no one really listens. But with the birth rate we are seeing right now, a civilization collapse is pretty much inevitable if we don't do something about it. But maybe the Tesla robot will actually help us with exactly that. So let's check all of that out and let's dive right in. It is hard to predict the future, even if you are an expert in the field. Like in the early 1940s, IBM's president Thomas J. Watson said, "I think there is a world market for about 5 computers." IBM did of course become a big player in the field, but the prediction was very wrong. But who would have thought in the 40s, when a computer was as big as a house and cost millions of dollars, that today we would have truly powerful computers in our pockets that is million times more powerful than the computer power NASA had when they put the first man on the moon. The power has gone up tremendously and the price has come down even more so. And we have to keep that in mind when we are talking about the Tesla humanoid robot, because even though it will probably blow our minds, the first version will still be expensive and dumb compared to what it will be down the road in the not so distant future. But as Elon just said in an interview he just did, it should not cost more than a cheap car, so probably between $20,000 to $35,000 to begin with, and then just decline from there on out and become smarter for every year that ticks by. So even though this might seem like a lot of money, just remember the average price of a new car is about $45,000, and there are still over 64 million cars sold every year, and they are not an asset, mostly just a cost. So this is just to say there are hundreds of millions of people around the world that privately could easily afford such a robot, and the benefits of such a robot would be massive. I know some are saying they don't think that a human-like robot will be the thing, but more specialized robot like a vacuum cleaner and a lawnmower. But I think this is the absolute best kind of robot. But we will of course also have a lot of the other ones as well. But our entire world is just built for humans, with stairs and handles and switches and so on. And a humanoid robot would be able to just come into our lives and use our tools. So I don't need 100 different robots. I just need one in the shape of me. And now it can cook and clean for me using the tools we use. And it can keep the garden and the driveway free from weeds with the tools we use. If a door is closed, it will still be able to clean the room on the other side because it can just open the door. Unlike my robot vacuum cleaner, if the door is closed, that room does not get vacuumed. So that is also why I think a humanoid robot is the right way to go, because it will be able to do everything we are able to do. So that also means it will be able to replace the jobs we don't want to do, as Elon has just talked about. The boring, dangerous, repetitive jobs will be the first job the robot will do. And when we don't look at the robot as just a helper for the private person that can afford it, but as a workforce for companies and the governments, these robots will save them so much money, because they just have to pay maybe $25,000 once, and then you have a worker that can work 20 hours a day, and then they just have to go charge and maybe do a little of self-maintenance. and it will never need a holiday. It just works 24/7 all year round. So the Tesla robot will probably have a pretty much endless demand, because many private persons like myself would love to have a helper robot at home like this. But companies like SpaceX will of course send millions of robots out to build moon base and the Mars colony and maybe mining the solar system. But every company and government will be able to see the financial benefits of these robots, so they are going to want one, or many. So we are talking about a Tesla product that Tesla will sell every single one they can make. And they are not as complex to manufacture as a car. They will probably be able to produce a lot more of them. So let's just say that they will be able to produce 100 million robots a year down the road in maybe 10, 20, 30 years time. And at that point, maybe it will only cost as little as $10,000. Well, that would still be $1 trillion in revenue for Tesla. But more importantly than that, these robots might help us from a civilization collapse. Because Elon Musk has talked about this many times. We are not looking at human population will just grow out of control. It is actually the other way around, because the birth rate is too low to replace the population. Italy gives a stark warning of this impact of low birth rate, with its population set to fall from 61 million in 2017 to only 28 million by 2100. Japan's population is expected to fall from 128 million in 2017 to less than 53 million by 2100. This kind of population decline will have major impact on society, the economy, the tax revenue, and available workers. And since 2020, COVID has actually accelerated this decline in birth rate, with the uncertainty over the future discarding many young people from having children. At the end of May in 2021, the Chinese government announced that parents in China would now be permitted to have up to 3 children. This announcement came only 5 years after the stunning reversal of the 1980 one-child policy, because China has experienced a fertility collapse. According to the latest census released in May 2021, China is losing roughly 400,000 people every year. China still claims its population is growing, but even if these projections are taken as face value, the population decline previously projected to start by the mid-century may now begin as early as 2030. That's just around the corner. This means China could lose between 600 to 700 million people from its population by 2100. That's right, 600 to 700 million people, or about half of its population today. And Chinese population changes are not unique among the superpowers. According to the United States' most recent census, the US birth rate has declined for 6 straight years and 19% since 2007 in total. Like China, the US birth rate is now below replacement rate. For a country to naturally replace its population, its birth rate needs to be at least 2.1, and in the US it is 1.6, and in China as low as 1.3. And you can add some of the biggest populations on the earth to this list, like India, with a birth rate that has come down to just the replacement rate right now. Japan is at 1.3, Russia 1.6, Brazil 1.8, Bangladesh 1.7, Indonesia 2.0. And even countries that still have a big birth rate are still declining in birth rate, so they are still heading in the same direction, like Pakistan that has a birth rate of 3.4. Well, they had a birth rate of 6.6 back in 1960. And we might think this is something that is not going to be an issue in our lifetime, but it just might. It will happen very fast with the birth rate we are seeing right now, like in South Korea, with the world's lowest birth rate of just 1.0. So they could see their population be cut in half within only 50 years. So a population going from 52 million to just 26 million in just 50 years from now. Just like we see in Japan, they lost 450,000 people in just 2018 alone. Japan has been in an economic stagnation for the last 3 decades now. This is some serious issues. And one of the biggest forces is urbanization. The largest migration of human history has happened over the last century, and it continues today as people move from country to city. In 1960, 1/3 of humanity lived in cities. Today it's almost 60%. Moving from country to the city changes the economic rewards and penalties for having large families. Many children on a farm means a lot of free hands to work. Many children in the city means a lot of mouth to feed. That's why we do the economically rational thing. When we move to the city, we have less kids. And we have to remember that about 36% of human population live in just 2 countries, China and India. One with a birth rate of 1.3 and the other one is down to just the replacement rate of 2.1. Well, if they shrink, the world population will shrink. Even though most of Africa is still growing, but they are only about 16% of the population on this huge continent. And the richer they get, the more education they get, the more urbanization we see, and the more education women get and want to pursue their career instead of just staying home taking care of the children, the more birth rate will fall, like we have seen everywhere else. So many will probably argue that our population is still growing, and yes it is, but that is mostly because people are living much longer than they used to. But this growth will stop by mid-century and then decline fast. So that is another problem we are seeing playing out today. There are a lot less working people to have to take care of the growing non-working part of our society, the people over 65. In the 1960s, there were 6 people of working age for every retired person. Today, the ratio is 3 to 1. By 2035, so very soon, it is expected that will be down to 2 to 1. So the population pyramid is starting to go from pyramid shape, where the population is growing, to be more top heavy. So we have less workers to take care of the non-working part of our population. But this is where the humanoid robot might come in and could help us from the civilization collapse, because if you can just build more workers, well, that will change what an economy even is, and we will no longer be in shortage of workers. But that will, of course, in the end lead to a lot of other problems we have to address when we no longer have to work, but that is for another time. But the world is facing a real threat with the birth rate we are seeing right now. But Tesla might actually be the one that can help solve that problem when, not if, they make a humanoid robot. It's only a question of when that will be. And as Elon said, the robot will be much bigger than the Tesla cars. Yes, it will make Tesla the biggest company the world has ever seen. And the Tesla robot will change our entire society. And we need to prepare ourselves for that future, because it might be coming faster than you think. And thank you for watching. And until next time, take care out there and be nice.